Welcome back to today's economy, where we discuss the world economy and what occurs in it, from Malaysia to France to the Arctic. This month our theme is interdependence. What issue are we talking about today, Aimee?
Well, Charlotte, today we will be talking about the recent slashing of the milk price payout by Fonterra and the effects of this on the sectors of the New Zealand economy. There has been a surplus supply of milk products overseas as of the weak demand. In the New Zealand economy, there are several sectors, each showing interdependence.
Producers are individuals or groups which take resources and combine them in the production process and produce output. The producing sector has three subsectors: primary, secondary and tertiary.
The primary sector deals with the direct usage of natural resources like agriculture or fishing. It is directly involving the environment.
The secondary sector, which is comprised of companies like Fonterra, manufactures usable goods from the goods produced in the primary sector.
The tertiary sector provides services involving giving attention and experience.
They can sell finished goods such as in the supermarket or provide a service such as teaching.
However, all the direct consumer-to-producer interaction occurs in this sector.
Having a reduced dairy payout directly affects the primary subsector of the producer sector. As farmers are in this sector, they require a certain amount of revenue from milk, their product, in order to be able to continue to afford the cost of production.
A household is made up of all the people living under one roof. They are also consumers and own all of the resources.
The government sector includes all forms of government and deals with transfer payments and government spending.
The financial sector consists of banks and other financial organisations managing households' investments, savings and exchanging currencies.
By use of exports and imports, the New Zealand economy also interacts with the overseas sector, which is outside of our own economy. From this we receive export receipts but lose money through payment for imports.
This is the circular flow diagram. It's an economic model, a simpler way of looking at a concept. It demonstrates the movement of money, resources, goods and services throughout an economy.
When Fonterra slashed the milk price payout forecast, it impacted all of the sectors of the economy.
Paddocks like these used to be teeming with dairy cows.
The interdependence between the financial sector and the producers sector show withdrawals and injections within the circular flow diagram.
The financial sector lends money to farms as an injection of money, and interest from producers that the banks receive is a withdrawal from the economy.
Producers also exchange export receipts with the financial sector to change the different currencies into New Zealand dollars.
Farmers will not be making as much profit this season as opposed to previous seasons, and the average loss may be around 260,000 to 280,000, and
Because of this, 9 out of 10 farmers will acquire extra debt through borrowing money from the financial sector to combat the falling prices. And will receive a 50-cent loan per kg of milk from Fonterra that must be repaid within 2 years.
some farms that cannot afford to repay this debt may be required to sell their farms in order to repay the financial sector. And those that can will have a lower margin of profit, which subsequently affects them in the long-term running of their farm and affects the future generations that will run dairy farms as they inherit them.
However, an example of interdependence between the primary and secondary sectors is that Fonterra, part of the secondary sector, is providing $430 million in financial support to the farmers. Along with this, the sectors of the households and the producers have interdependence.
So the producer, the dairy farm in this case, will be sending less income to the households, which is the farmer.
Households will send less factors of production, like labour, to producers, and in turn, the producers will send less goods and services to households, who will decrease consumer spending, which means that the sales, revenue, and profits of other producers will fall.
Associated industries sales will decrease as well, such as the milk trucking business and supplementary cow food.
Producers may consider selling or decreasing the purchasing of capital equipment, such as tractors and farm machinery, to repay debts and send more dairy cows to be culled to retain more money.
They may have to lay off workers or decrease salaries, meaning that income being received by farm workers will decrease. So far, Fonterra has already laid off 523 jobs, which has increased the unemployment rate.
This large decrease in income will mean households may purchase goods and services they considered inferior goods before, such as purchasing cheaper clothes or not purchasing luxury food items like lamb.
Farmers, the producers, will now pay less company tax to the government as the profit received is less because of the fall in milk prices. As the tax the government receives from producers is used for government spending,
Capital expenditure will go down by $500 to $600 million.
with less to spend on roads and other infrastructures that producers rely on.
As a flow-on effect, the rest of New Zealand will be affected by this, as all the public services will have less money available to improve them, such as fixing of the road potholes.
The government also keeps open trade with overseas countries, which impacts producers. This overseas market also has interdependence with the producer sector, and as demand for milk has decreased, there will be less exports of milk products.
Export receipts and injection to our economy will decrease, as dairy is New Zealand's biggest export.
As farmers are a part of our population, their decrease in consumer spending will affect the number of imports purchased, causing a very small decrease in the number of imports and import payments, which is a leakage from the economy.
The demand for milk products has decreased, so farmers don't receive as much money per kg of milk as the payout has dropped from $5.25 to $3.85.
This is because as the demand for milk products decreases, producers have no need to produce as many. Since the government sector supplies services and benefits to households, and the households give income tax back to them, having less income means less income tax is received.
Due to producers laying off workers or decreasing salaries, income has lowered. It has the flow-on effect that they may not have enough income to meet living standards, so become eligible for a benefit or support from the government, which will likely increase transfer payments from the governments to household.
Unemployment will rise, which means the government may have more houses requiring support, which decreases the money available to be spent on other areas. Those employed in the dairy industry will experience a decrease in savings along with a decrease in savings interest. As most farmers don't have savings, this won't affect them, but many households within the dairy industry in New Zealand may go to the financial sector.
Loans will go up, so households that have ties with the milk price payout will have more to repay, sinking further into debt.
Loans interest will also increase. As savings decrease for those employed in the dairy industry, their families can't afford to have a family holiday, which affects their outlook on the world and their experience of it, or to send their child to university,
which affects the level of education they received and makes it more likely they won't receive a job that's highly paid. If they do send their child to university, they will likely acquire a larger student loan, which takes more time to work off,
Leaving them without money for luxury goods for longer, affecting consumer spending in New Zealand.
And that concludes our explanation of the decrease in milk price payout in terms of the interdependence of sectors in the New Zealand economy.
Next up, on today's economy, we look at the interdependence between cows and grass.
The cow eats the grass and